I think that, again, it's become commonplace that every year at this time, we engage our staff in order to hear from them regarding what it is that they would like us to know and understand in terms of moving forward. Later, you're going to hear about the same thing that we're doing with our students in a different way this year to broaden their voice and the way in which their voice engages our direction. So the bottom line as we move forward here is that we know that learning, as we've described, is changing. We understand that our annual operating plan that flows from our strategic direction, though we stay the course, as I've said earlier, needs to deepen. And it's our job to listen to our staffs and listen to our students, and in a different forum, listen to our parents and communities to know just how we should move. So you're going to see some, I would suggest, differences in some of the questions that we'll be asking this year. But before we do that, I'd like us to just put it into a context.
One of the things to keep in mind for inquiry-based learning and 21st century learning is that it's not just about technology. There's tools that we use to explore inquiry-based learning. However, there are various other ways for students to develop higher order thinking skills.
It was a bit of an adjustment, allowing the students to sort of be free with their learning and to choose what they want to learn about.
I like this new idea because it gives me a chance to have my own thinking, for me to choose my own stuff, and it helps me to be engaged in the work.
We are able to have access to tons and tons of information around the world, so each student can inquire about any topic that they feel is appropriate for them, and it allows us the independence to go forward with our learning.
We're using Google Docs, we're using obviously our internet, we're using iPads, and that has enabled the students to have the information at their fingertips.
Over the last couple of years, I think we've worked hard at this school to shift the culture and to think about technology not as something that we just add into our programming, but to program always with a mind that you have these tools and you have these technological capabilities that will enhance student experience.
You get smarter at Genius Hour because you get to choose what you want to do.
They wanted to find out more information about tsunamis or typhoons, and it was just really exciting for me to see that engagement level go higher and higher with my students.
Our students are excited about it. Our students are deepening their understanding and really developing those higher order skills that I know will benefit them in the real world.
It's getting foggy in here, that's right.
Yeah, I like doing it.
All right, Josh, dump it in.
It's wet. It's making it
Excellent.
wet.
Yep, circle the word that's yes.
It's all searching up onto internet. We're getting better knowledge and skills. Our generation uses a lot of technology now, and it kind of connects to the students more because we get more information than just like learning on a sheet of paper.
My question before I made this model was, how does the diaphragm help us breathe? And after I built my model, when we breathe, when our diaphragm goes down, it allows air to come in, and when our diaphragm goes in, it pushes out the air from our lungs.
Since we have technology, it kind of like makes it more fun to come to school and more exciting.
The process of the collaborative inquiry was important to our department as facility management. because it allowed us to refine and allow our lines of communication to be very open, very transparent with several departments that work collectively with us.
Through collaborative engagement, we're able to give an educated response to the system by pausing and listening to our customers. You have to pause to understand what they really need. Once you understand what they need, we then get together, give a decisive game plan, and achieve what they want.
It's been a lot of fun, and the kids are finding it very engaging. I am finding from the experience that they're learning more because they're asking their own questions and they're learning about what they want to learn about. And so they're very engaged and very excited about their learning.
What I'm hoping to create in my classroom is risk takers. Students that are willing to take that learning and go independently, take that initiative and go and find out for themselves and be able to share that information that they found.
Many of the topics that they are inquiring about, I don't really know that much about. So we are learning together. So instead of me just telling them what the facts are, we learn together. I find I'm becoming more of a guide to my students, giving them sort of the skills that they need in order to learn on the internet or learn from different resources, and then we learn together.
When you're surrounded by creativity and open-mindedness and a willingness to explore and change things up, that whole cultural aspect is huge in a school, and it can really change the morale and the culture of a school. I've been at this school long enough to see it personally happen. And a big part of that is the 21st century's approach, I think, because it allows everybody to kind of open their mind and kind of go with it and learn together.
So one of the things that I oftentimes hear when we experience a video like that, which speaks to some of the changes that flow from what some of our students need, there's a tendency sometimes, I think, to hear the yeah buts in the process. And I know that to move to this world that we're talking about, built on the successes of what already exists, we're going to have to listen closely to what those challenges are and respond as effectively as we can. But part of what's important in that, though, is that it sometimes means leaving the old paradigm. So, for instance, we may need to say, as an example, that we right now have our students show us their work in a certain way. It tends to be paper-based. We tend to do quite a bit of writing, and that's wonderful. And yet, in this new world, we may need to be sure that our tools allow our students to do different things. And that means we may have to let go of some of the ways we learned, and some of the ways we produced work, and some of the ways we were assessed. And so if we tried to do the world that we learned in and the world that clearly is emerging that this video gives us an example of, we simply can't afford that. So it may be a yeah, but how do we get the kids to do such and such, when the question might need to be, what is it we expect our kids to do, know, and understand? What evidence would we accept of that that could potentially be communicated in different ways, depending upon, again, the interests, strengths, and needs of the student, which means some students might actually choose a paper-based way to do that, whereas others would like to show their teacher something different. So again, I think it's a question of when we hear what the challenges are, we've got to communicate those, and then we have to dissect it a bit so we're not simply trying to preserve one model and add another one, but potentially take all that's good about where we've been and move it to the next.